Hey guys, welcome back to Jessin Reads Romance. I'm Jessin and I love reading romance. Today we're going to be talking about a series that was my gateway into romance, and it might have been yours. That's right, we're talking about Twilight. Yeah, we really are, guys. We're going to be talking about what it's like for me, an adult, to reread Twilight. This book came out in 2005, I believe. I was a freshman when this really was taking hold of the entire school. Haley, if you're watching this, I think that you were the first one that I saw reading this in class, and then it seemed like everybody in the whole entire school had a copy of this book. Everyone was reading. Didn't matter if these students were normally readers, everyone was reading it. That's crazy and amazing. So we have to give Twilight its credit. I mean, it definitely sparked a fire in young readers. Also, you may have noticed we have a lurker in the background. Ollie definitely doesn't feel like participating, but he does like to listen. So guys, we're not here to bash Twilight today. There's plenty of videos out there if you really want to hear some extremely negative views and hot takes and all that. I wanted to do a fun experiment to compare my 27-year-old self to my 17-year-old self. Well, I was much younger than 17. I was like 14 or 15 as a freshman. I was 14. I was a young freshman. My age is besides the point. I'm feeling very old right now. The point is, I wanted to see if I had those same feelings as I did as a teenager reading Twilight. It's been almost a decade since I've picked up these books. They've been collecting dust on my shelf, so I had to dust them off, and I read the whole series except for Breaking Dawn because I like to pretend that book doesn't count. I'd rather forget about that one. And just looking at these books, guys, gave me feels. They were pretty much hiding in the back of my bookshelf behind a ton of other books that I read often now. So I hadn't really looked at them, but just seeing them, it's like, oh yeah, I remember what it was like to pick this book up for the first time. And Twilight culture, it was a thing. The midnight premieres. Oh, does anybody remember the Hillywood show, which, funnily enough, I think that all their parodies were much better than the movies themselves. I mean, if you haven't watched them, please go look them up. I'm pretty sure they're still on YouTube somewhere. You can find them. But there was Penn's midnight premieres, trips to Forks to go see the setting, people taking pictures wanting a glimpse of all these young actors playing these favorite characters. So it was definitely this phenomena that kind of swept the whole entire world. It made an impact. So say what you want about Twilight, that it's bad writing, or it has problematic or unlikable characters, or a really kind of iffy relationship that borders on an unhealthy relationship, maybe? You can say all that, whatever. But it was a huge part of my teenage reading experience, and it kind of paved the way for me to be so involved in the romance community. I loved finding people who wanted to read Twilight. I was the person in Barnes & Noble that if I saw you grabbing a book like Twilight that I liked, I was like, yes, get that. And you know what else you would like? You would like this series. I definitely was that kind of person, which I'm normally not like that at all. In any other area of my life, I will not do that at all. That is not me. But when it comes to books, I'm a little bit more outgoing. By the way, speaking of Twilight culture, let me know in the comments whether or not you were Team Edward or Team Jacob, because that was a whole thing, the shipping thing. And I was definitely Team Edward all the way. I never wavered. I can't say that I would still be Team Edward today. If I had a choice between a vampire or a shifter, I definitely would be going for shifters nowadays. And that's also taking into consideration that Jacob was like a fully formed man and Edward was stuck in a 17-year-old, little waif boy-like body, which, yeah, no. So is Twilight the best book? No. Have I read better romances? Of course. I mean, I've read hundreds of romances since I started my reading journey when I was 14. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't have value, and it doesn't erase the feelings that we had as children, or if you still have them now, if you still love Twilight to this day. That's valid and nobody should put you down for that. But my reading tastes have changed over the years. They're not even the same as last year. I just go through phases, tropes are retired, and I fall back in love with them again. So let's dive right into what I thought about rereading the Twilight series. So the trope, paranormal romances with vampires and shifters. I still read that. I have no problem with the book having vampires and shifters. Even though I don't normally choose paranormal over contemporary and historical nowadays, it's kind of making a comeback. I have been seeing a lot more paranormal romances that I've been interested in, but that's all good. That doesn't turn me off from the series. I was still okay with all those elements, even though we have a sparkly vampire and it wasn't as cool as I thought it was as a teenager. I rather more danger than sparkle. But then there was this popular thing that was happening in YA romances at the time, the love triangle. It is not something that I like now, especially a love triangle that spans throughout the whole series, basically. I hate that. If it's in an adult romance now, I wouldn't want to read it at all, but it was very popular, and especially in other YA series that I enjoyed. I think it was kind of the thrill of, I want her to pick him, and is she going to pick the guy that I like? But it's not my thing anymore, so that aspect hasn't aged well for me personally. But now we should really talk about the characters, because that's what we really came for. Bella, let's talk about her first. Rereading her as an adult, especially in first-person POV, was a little bit different. When I was young, I really related to Bella. She was this quiet introvert, kind of an old soul, didn't fit in really anywhere, and I could totally relate to that. Now, I really thought she was a blank canvas. There was really nothing to her, no substance. But Justin, what do you mean by a blank canvas? I'm not explaining this well. When Bella arrives in Forks from Phoenix, she's longing to go back to this life, but we really don't know much beyond the fact that she kind of took care of her mother and she's sacrificing herself for her mother's happiness, but she didn't have a friend group back in Phoenix. And I think that's a really important thing to note, because it kind of isolates Bella in a very unique way. She doesn't have any ambitions besides really getting out of Forks. She doesn't want to stay in this town, which is ironic because by the end of the series, it becomes her home. And it's not that she grew to appreciate Forks, really. It's that she just found somebody who she really wanted to be with, and enough to be like, well, yeah, I'll give up the sun, something that I really, really, really loved in the first few books. But I think this is really sad. Bella doesn't have any real friend connections. She doesn't have somebody who she can call from Phoenix saying, I just got to this place that I really hate. This boy in biology seems to dislike me on sight, and that element would have really been welcome, and you can't really count Jessica or Angela. Jessica is one of those good time friends where she wants to be around Bella when things are going great for herself. But if things are happening in Bella's favor, then she really is not that great of a friend. Angela would have been great, but she really doesn't get a lot of page time, so Bella basically has no friends besides the Cullens, which is problematic because she gets so caught up in this one family. And I really would have liked to see her have other connections. And her poor father, don't even get me started on Charlie. He's actually one of my favorite parts about rereading this series. I feel so bad for him. He is really trying to do his best and be a good dad, and Bella just does not make it easy for him at all. I really wish that Bella had more of a character arc, because if you really think about it, the Bella that we get at the beginning of the Twilight series really doesn't have any ambition or goals. And by the end of the series, nothing's really changed besides the fact that she's become a vampire and she's in a relationship. But what does she want to do with her life? We don't know. We don't know. The people around Bella are kind of what defines her. And I think that that's where I lose the connection with her as a heroine. I don't really love heroines who have nothing going for them. I love reading heroines who are shy and kind of a little socially awkward, because I am too. And I love reading heroines who are super outgoing and dominant and alpha females. I love it all, but Bella is just so passive that it's very hard to connect with her, and it kind of makes it a drag to read since it's all in her point of view. Now that we've established that I really didn't have a connection to Bella like I used to, let's move on to the guys. So Edward. I was definitely Team Edward, and I still like elements of Edward, but I think the real problem is that not only is his body physically stuck at 17, but sometimes he really shows that kind of moody teenager attitude where he's warning her away, saying, we shouldn't be friends. I'm bad for you. You're making a big mistake. But then he really doesn't try to remove himself from the situation at all. He can't help it. He has to be around her. And it's really kind of annoying when he gaslights her, saying, you're completely off your rocker. You don't know what you're talking about. You're seeing things, or nobody will believe you even if you say something like this. And I'm just kind of side-eyeing him like, ooh, no, this isn't attractive at all. Edward has a tendency to tell Bella what's best for her. One of the things that she's very clear on throughout the entire series is that she wants to be with him and she wants to become a vampire. And these are two things that Edward really struggles with throughout the whole series, saying, you shouldn't want to be with me, I'm no good for you, so I'll remove myself from the situation and create all kind of problems, whatever. He's being very selfish. And then also the whole vampirism thing. He's projecting his own feelings on becoming a vampire on her. She has no problem. She's like, I don't believe that I'm going to lose my soul if I become a vampire. And I know you believe that, but I don't. But why does Edward get to make this decision for her? Don't know. I mean, he's painted into a corner by the end. He really doesn't agree to it. And she just turns into a vampire purely by luck. But this is not a problem exclusive to Edward. Jacob also displays this tendency too. Now, I do like Jacob. I would have liked it more if he would have kind of respected these friendship boundaries that Bella put in place. So they grow closer once Edward leaves the picture in New Moon, and I really do like that. I like the type of friendship they develop, and this is a type of friendship I wish that Bella would have had before she became involved with Edward so deeply in the first book in Twilight. I wish she would have had at least a girlfriend from Phoenix, or someone who she connected to that wasn't Jessica or Angela, someone actually more in the best friend category, for her to bounce around all these feelings and these changes. I really needed her to like confide in someone that wasn't a vampire or a shifter. The problem is when Edward comes back into the picture, Jacob pretty much ignores Bella's decision to go back to Edward. It's her decision. If she wants to be with Edward, fine, whatever, you can be with Edward. But Jacob is really pushy, and he kind of says, oh no, you'll realize it's me all along, and one day you're gonna pick me. He even goes as far as to kiss her against her will, which I do not like that at all. She punches him in the dang face to get him off of her. So I did not like Jacob for that, then or now. But they both have a tendency to take away Bella's sense of agency, and if I had my way, she wouldn't be with either of them. And maybe if this wasn't a YA and this was a new adult, and she had a little bit more maturity or life experience, maybe things would have played out differently. Maybe she would have ended up with either of them. But this is a YA novel, and it is what it is. One of the excuses that Edward likes to bring up when Bella requests something and he denies it, he likes to say, you don't know what you're talking about, I kind of know better, and or you seem to not care about your life, I care about your life. And while I don't really love that, it's kind of true. Bella in every single book kind of puts herself out there as a sacrifice every single time. She sacrifices herself because she thinks someone else is more important than her. And how can you really love a heroine who does not love herself? I like heroines who like themselves, and Bella seems to think that she's super expendable. So overall, rereading this series as an adult really didn't feel the same. I didn't think that the nostalgia kind of outweighed my reading preferences now. I definitely felt a little nitpicky while reading, saying, ooh, no, why can't you be like this character? And ooh, I forgot that happened. So it was a little bit hard to separate my current self from my younger self who really loved it so much. I do think that these books are better sitting on my shelf, and I'll just look at them and be like, oh, that was a great time in my life. And I've come so far from these books. I still love them for what they are and for what they did for me as a reader. So if you loved Twilight back in the day, or you still love it, or you roll your eyes at it now and always kind of hated it, I think we have to acknowledge that at least it had a positive impact on readers. It definitely started that fire, that love of reading in a lot of readers, and led them to develop friendships that still lasted today. Many of you in the romance community, I know that you were Twihards, just like I was when I was younger. And we're all still pretty excited about the release of Midnight Sun, which is so weird because it's going to be the same exact book as Twilight, except in Edward's point of view. I'm still gonna read it. That's all I have for you today, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel to be notified on any future videos that I'll be posting. I'll definitely be doing a vlog of Midnight Sun. I think it's gonna be really fun. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and remember, life's better with a little HEA. Bye!